Hey, my name is Dewan. I'm currently a law enforcement officer in Arizona. Been doing the job or in the field for approximately 10 to 12 years. Today, I'm going to talk about what I do to kind of decompress, kind of ease my stress, and some books that I read. Um, just a disclaimer, this is not legal advice. This is not me saying, hey, you need to do what I'm doing. This is not any type of psychiatric advice or psychological advice. This is just what I do to decompress or to make my days better because I know going into 2025 is going to be a difficult time for everybody. Yeah, you're going to have that initial dopamine hit because, yeah, it's a new year, but you definitely don't want to start January of 2025 in the same situation. You want to kind of move your mindset from last year. You want to shift the paradigm shift and you want to do something different and be in a better direction. So the reason I made this video or making this video is just to show that I'm human too. I understand what people go through. And when I'm having a tough time, these are some of the options that I choose to be multifaceted in me being able to identify my feelings, identify the type of feeling that I'm having, and then address it accordingly so that I can keep my mind sharp and move forward. My What I'm going to tell you, this is applicable to anybody. Excuse me, but some of these things I'm going to say it may or may not be more applicable to a certain group or not. It depends on how you take it. All right. So I got that out the way. I just kind of wanted to express that because I don't want to alienate anybody because I think that we all go through stuff. We're all human. We all have our issues, right? And no one's perfect. So one of the first books that I would suggest, and I don't have it on me, I would say The Alchemist. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho is one of those books that when I read it, it really just kind of retrained my mind and rewired how I thought. It made me believe in hope. It made me believe in following my dreams. It made me believe that I'm not on the wrong path. And if I have to pivot a couple of times on the journey, it's okay. The goal is to get to the long end of things, not the short end of things. And when you start to see that as a human being, when you start to see that, hey, there will be rocks along the journey, there will be stones, there will be fences, they will be difficult, but the end goal is where I'm trying to get. It'll make the journey that much more easier for you. And then you'll start to realize it wasn't really about the end goal, it was about the journey. Now, I don't want to give the book away too much. I kind of gave you a little bit of the synopsis. It's about a child who meets somebody. They have a vision. They tell him, you're probably destined to be A, B, and C. And then from there, he goes and, he goes on his journey. It's a really good book. I don't have it up on the screen. You can get it on as an ebook or an audio book. You can buy it used on Amazon. That's where I bought my book. But it's a really, really good book. The next book would be The Richest Man in Babylon. Now, you could literally find this book online. You could Google it and you could read all X amount of pages. That's how I found it. And then I bought the book. But The Richest Man in Babylon, it talks about shillings. And in this book, and this is important to me because going into, the whole year of 2024, I was working on a project, but I was running out of money because I have, family responsibilities, etc. And I went back to this book and I was like, yo, I have to save my shillings. Shillings in the form of this book is the currency, their money. And this book focuses on somebody being perceived as a great king and how did this person get this position? He's loved in the city, but there's a really good twist in the book because you don't know his upbringing, you don't know what he went through, you don't know what his grind was. And what I took from that book and what I always take from that book when I'm feeling like, hey, I need to buckle down on my finances because I know I have to pay 10% to myself or live within my means, spend less than 30% of my income on my, etc. I read this book because, like, hey, save your shillings. Because I've noticed when I save my money, and I make sure that my money is where it's supposed to be. When my car has issues, it's not a surprise. It's not a surprising expense because, oh, I didn't know my car was gonna know. Your car will always have issues. It's a machine. Random bills pop up. Oh, you didn't pay this bill. This is $200. Okay, I saved enough money, right? I put it in a certain account, maybe possibly a high yield savings account where money accrues from what you put in it monthly, right? When you get more cash back on that percentage, and I have enough money to pay this off. Like I'm good. So that reassures me, like, hey, I'm on the right track with what I'm trying to do, right? And thinking going into January of 2025, if you can, sorry, that's my little air freshener that we installed in here, keep the room fresh. But if you can go into the year with that mindset, it's a good book to read because it'll help you really think about if you're a consumer, if you're a saver, what your financial abilities are and what you really want to do with the money that you gain. A lot of people want to go out and spend in the club and they want to show everybody that I bought a bottle, but that doesn't make any sense. For example, let's just say you make, I don't know, your monthly check is, we'll say 2,000, but you like to go out, you like to party. So you go out, but you want to show off to everybody that you got money. So you buy, and I've been in this situation. So I'm telling you from experience. I've been around people who want to do this. I'm around 4 or 5 guys. We're out somewhere, and then one guy tells me, "Hey man, let's all buy a bottle." I'm like you could go to like Walmart, you could go to Safeway, you could go to Target, and you know back when the Hypnotic was the drink, you could go there. And this person tells me, well, we can get a bottle of, I don't know, I'm not going to say the name, but you could get a bottle for, we all just drop, it's $600, $700. We get a bottle, they come out in the sparklers and they say our name. We got the table. So it's like $700 for the bottle, but then the table's 280. So if we all just chip in 250, and then we'll be able to drink and hang out in this club, and then we'll procure the space, and then everybody will know we got this bottle, and then the girls will come. So, and obviously I declined. I said, I'm good, man. I'm just going to drink some water or get a Sprite or maybe like my favorite back in the day, which is like a Midori sour, because I'm not a big drinker. But because I read the book and I educated myself, hey, I don't need to prove myself to anybody, especially about my finances. I just need to make the money, put it where it needs to go, and make sure my credit score is good. I was able to say, hey, you know what, man? I see past just tonight. Like there's bills I gotta pay, there's responsibilities that I have, there are things that I need to do. So I'm not gonna be able to, spend. Well, I can, but it's not a good financial choice for me. So saving my shillings or my money was one of the things that helped me kind of make a better decision in that situation. So that's a good book. The Richest Man in Babylon. Let me go to my next book. I actually have this one. This is The 44 Laws of Peace. This book, and I just got this book and I read it kind of every night. This book, I've noticed that as I've gotten older, I've wanted to have more of a peaceful upbringing, not an upbringing, but a peaceful day. And I was talking to a good friend of mine, not going to say his name, but he said at this point in our lives, a lot of our problems are not our own. We are vicariously basically taking on other people's problems in our lives when we don't need to. And I think at the age that I'm at, the point at which I'm trying to go my direction and where I'm standing, where my flag is at, you know what I'm saying? I don't really like taking on unnecessary drama. I don't like things that disrupt my peace. My peace, my dwelling, my peace of mind is extremely important to me. It's not about being on Instagram. It's not about being on my phone. It's not about me wearing the nicest clothes. It's about, things that are important to me, like mind muscle, connection, reading books, getting better, maybe looking at, investing money in places that, I can save up or it can make, what's an asset, what's a liability, being around people that are smarter than me. So these things bring me peace, not you know, listening to somebody's drama when they call me and hearing problems that could have been solved within the first 2 minutes. And then I got to sit here and I have to say, damn, oh, that sucks, man. Oh, man. I get sometimes people want you to listen, but you get drained when you hear other people's problems. It's not a problem with that. You got to be a good friend, but you can't be a good friend if you don't focus on your own mental health, your own peace. So I'm just going to read a part from this book that I think is important, or one of the parts I think is important. It just kind of helped me out. So just give me 1 second. This is law number 6. Be mindful of your thoughts. Do not constantly disparage yourself or repeat negative thoughts to excess. Doing so is a sure way to manifest those thoughts into reality. For as you think, so you become. If you think you're a good for nothing, you'll act like a good for nothing, and you'll treat yourself like a good for nothing, and eventually you'll be good for nothing. The same is true in the opposite direction. Think you're capable of living a good life, you will act capable of living a good life, and soon you will live a good life. It's right there. Right there. So, great book. I think it was like $8 on Amazon. I primed it. It came, and I read this every day, before I go to sleep. Because I want positive thoughts when I go to sleep, and I want to have positive thoughts when I wake up. Next book. Now, this book has been banned in prisons from what I've been told. And it's a very, very powerful book. This book has helped me, and hopefully it'll help you just be in check with your emotions and how to read the room, how to understand people's energy, and how to place more value on yourself to be able to read undertones in situations where you are prey to a lot of predators, whether that be financial, physical, etc. It's good to know your value, know where you stand, know your mindset, know what you have going on. Because a lot of people play games in the world. A lot of people do things that you don't expect. A lot of people try to run game on you. A lot of people look at you as a victim. A lot of people will backstab you. A lot of people will claim to love all your ideas, love everything you told them. And then all of a sudden, boom, they steal your ideas and now you're left with nothing, right? So this book is 48 Laws of Power. This is written by the master, Robert Greene. And this guy has made like The Art of Seduction, The 50th Law. He's made a ton of books, but this one I think is one of the more popular ones, or the most popular, because not only does it tell you like different laws, it has like different stories within the laws. And then there's like the reversal of the law, meaning it'll tell you how this law will work in your favor, but then it also tells you, hey, it can work against you as well. I'll just give you an example. We will go to Law 37. And I've read this before, but I'll just read a little bit for you. Create compelling spectacles. Striking imagery and grand symbolic gestures create the aura of power. Everyone responds to them. Stage spectacles for those around you, then full of arresting visuals and radiant symbols that heighten your presence. Dazzled by appearances, no one will ever notice what you are really doing. And then it just goes on to say, hey, here's the observance of the law. And then in the side if you can look in the side of the actual page, there's a story on the law. And there's multiple stories. There's multiple historical references about how this is applicable to not just your life, but how this is applicable to history itself. So it's not just reading the book and, I feel good about myself and I feel positive. It's like, hey, this book is telling me that this has worked in history. It has been proven to stop anyone from trying to subvert your success or stop things what you're doing. But also it has done that to other people. So it works both ways. So this will just give you the ability to understand what your options are and how to deal with people. Right? Because I know that when I see, the lights and the flashiness, for example, at a halftime show at a very popular sport that everyone loves, you're like, wow, that's, you know, that's awesome. Those likes, I want to be in this event. I want to be a part of this. But sometimes you fail to notice, hey, is this person even singing? Or are they just playing music? But you wouldn't really pay attention because you see the lights, you see the show, you see people dancing, you see people doing all this other stuff. Everyone's moving in unison. But then you're like, wait a minute, are they even dancing? I don't hear this person. They have a microphone to their mouth, but I don't hear them actually singing the song. Or is it a recording? But not many people challenge it because they're like, hey, did you see that show? Did you see all the stuff they did? Did you see how cool it looked? And no one pays attention to the actual audio. That could be a perfect example of creating those spectacles. Good book. Alrighty. My next book, Jailhouse Strong. They have probably 3 or 4 different books. This one in particular is your shield. In this book, your shield is your back. Okay. It basically focuses on like prison style workouts, right? Fused in with the gym, assisting you with working on your body. So really, really, really good book. And there's also other books from this writer, creator. And I think there's 2 guys who wrote these books, and one of them is like a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's got like his master's or his PhD. So really, really good book. And if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I think that's what they have. So let me talk about one of the things I liked about this. I struggle with like trying to stay motivated in the gym. I do work out, I do 2 days a week, not 5 like I used to because I didn't feel like I was getting gains. But on my deload week, I kind of struggle with like accessory workouts or exercises or trying to modify it to do something different to still get that stimulus in my brain and not just feel like lethargic in the gym, like, hey, this is something that I have to do versus I want to be here. And for example, um, I needed to work on my neck. I feel like I had a weak neck. I was going to jiu-jitsu. I was getting choked out. And I was like, damn it, my neck is like weak. How can I strengthen my neck? One of the things in the book said, hey, you can strengthen your neck by doing neck rotations. So I went out, I read the book, I read the chapter. I bought a band, put it on my head. And then when I'm in the gym, working on neck day or back day or shoulders or shrugs, I'll sneak in this exercise and put a band on my head tied to a rack, and I'll move my head side to side. I'll go back and forth. I'll do this and that. And I feel it in my neck. I'll also use like a standing calf machine, and I'll just shrug from the machine up from my shoulders. That helps me with my shrugs. And then I can double that and do like a set for shrugs, and I'll do a set for my calves. I mean, these types of things just makes the workouts more interesting. And I never thought that you can do these things because I was never exposed to anybody who's done them, right? So these things help me because it brings mental clarity to me in the gym. I know what I'm doing. I have focus. I have that mind muscle connection. I know the direction that I'm trying to go, and I know what I'm trying to achieve. So I'm not just going to the gym and being an instinctive exercise workout partner for somebody or just having an instinctive exercise. I'm writing it down. I'm documenting my progress. I'm jotting down how I feel. I'm really, really focusing on that mind muscle connection. And I'm focusing on what I feel like my mind and my body responds to the best so I can add that to my arsenal when I'm in the gym. And I feel relieved, and this is the best part because I get stressed out. I feel relieved when I read a book, I apply it to my life, I apply it to the gym, or I apply it to areas of my life which are important to me. And I feel like I've gained experience in that field. I feel like I've gained some type of knowledge or growth. That makes me feel like I've accomplished something, and that makes me feel like I'm that much closer to not just accomplishing it, but being like better at it. And then hopefully one day I'll be a master at it, and then one day I can educate others on what I've gone through. So it's a good book. This is one of many. This one was important to me because I felt like I needed to get a stronger back, stronger neck. But they have other books. They have Jailhouse Strong actual workout books, which is like bigger than this. Good book, good book. There's also the Wendler 531 method. I carry those two books in my gym bag, and the Wendler method is one of the things that helped me blow up and get my PRs up quick, quick. The Wendler method, 531 Wendler. You better look at that. All right, put this back. The next book, because I know that in the beginning of the book, I talked about finances and I talked about how, like Humpty Dumpty said, actually, I don't know if he said this, trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. That wasn't Humpty Dumpty, but a rapper said trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. So this book helps me understand the psychology of money and how I want it to work for me, right? And once again, excuse me if it wasn't Humpty Dumpty. I'm pretty sure it was on the song I Get Around with Tupac. I just don't know the other rapper's name. But that guy was like trying to make $1 out of 15 cents, a dime and a nickel. So excuse me if I messed up. The Psychology of Money. This is a good book. This was written by Morgan Housel. This book, man, it will rewire your brain to really think about money. You know, I didn't really think about putting money into places that it needed to go, you know, up until I started reading more books on like financial statements, like retiring early, you know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you know, stuff like that. And that helped me realize, hey, I am a consumer, but I also can do more with my money that I receive, so I'm not stressed out. If you put more away than you expected to put away, live live beneath your means, you could do so much more, and it frees up your time. So one of the things that I liked in here, and it wasn't just like all money, like it had good advice. It said, everyone has an incomplete view of the world, but we form a complete narrative to fill the gaps. So, and it kind of reminded me of the Bible when at one point in the Bible, someone questioned God, like, why do you do this? Why do you do that? And then God responded and said, do you know what these things look like? Do you know the depths of the sea? Do you know this? Do you know that? And that person's mind was blown because they couldn't even fathom what God was talking about. And the reason I want to connect these two is because my view of the world is incomplete, right? My view of money is totally incomplete because there are billionaires that think of money in a different way. They have the time, they have the experience, they have the resources, but I'm trying to learn how they view money, right? But I can only fill in the gaps of what I think I know or what I'm reading or the experience that I currently have. And that's okay, right? Everyone's learning. But we do that not just with money, we do that with people, we do that with friendships, relationships. You know how you might see somebody in the gym or example, and you don't even know this person, and your view of how they are is skewed. You're like, oh, I don't like that person, man. They're just trying to be flashy. Oh, but you may never know. They might just be dressing a certain way, acting a certain way because they're insecure, or they want to show off to everybody because they feel like they lack, you know, this A, B, and C's. Things that you may not be dealing with, things that are trivial to you, but they mean everything to them. So that's important to me as well. So I just think that's very important to know that, hey, we're not perfect, and how I view what's going on in London or wherever, what country, whatever continent, that is just a small pebble, a small drop in the ocean. And I don't necessarily always want to fill in the gaps because I could be wrong. That's why you meet people. That's why it's good to have people that you're around that you disagree with, because they constantly challenge your narrative and you're not in an echo chamber. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to have differences. What's important is you're around people who care. You know what I mean? So, good book. Good book. I think I got this for like $9, and I sent one to my mom for her birthday. She's reading it. It's a good book. Um, it's a good book. Good book. The next one, which I really get worried about, is The 1 Minute Cure. Just started reading this book, and I'm reading this book because as I've gotten older, you know, randomly, like when I was probably 22, 23. I lost a friend to a car accident, like a best friend, and that was due to like drunk driving. So that kind of like messed me up a little bit. And then I lost another acquaintance, kind of a friend, to a heart attack. But what was crazy was like he had like a 1 year old son, and we worked together. We hung out every now and then. And then he had a medical emergency. He had a heart attack, and now his son doesn't have a father. And me being a person who has two sons and they're young, it excuse me, it worries me because your health is the most important thing you have. If you have financial issues, if you have marital issues, if you have relationship issues, but you're dealing with a health issue that could potentially end your life, you have one issue. That one issue is your health. All that other stuff will come into play. It'll fall in line in the cracks of your life, but you need to live. And there's a lot of people out here fighting, clawing, scratching, trying to gain inches of what you take for granted. Inches, a mile, things that you think is a joke. The ability to walk, the ability to breathe air, the ability to turn on the internet, the ability to watch TV, the ability to go outside in fresh air and not be in a war-torn, poverty-stricken, country getting bombed. So you gotta reflect on these things. Some people inhale CS gas and just pass out, can't breathe. I've inhaled it. I know what it's like. It's not nice. I don't like it. So this book just reminds me, hey, you need to constantly be seeking ways to make your body physically better. Lay off on the sugars, eat as healthy as you can when you can, and respect the situation. Respect what you got going on, because life is not guaranteed. You don't always have to wake up. God or whoever you believe in could be like, you're done. I need you with me now. And then you got to go. So what you think is your own is not your own. But if you take care of your health, right, like you can somewhat mitigate that, right? You could prolong that day that you meet your maker by taking smart decisions and smart, I don't want to say diet plan, but smart, you could go in the right direction to make better decisions to prolong that inevitable day, if possible. So it's a good book. It's a good book. Two more books I want to add. I don't have them on me, but you can pull them up. Um, Pound the Stone by Joshua Metcalf. It's a really, really good book. It's about staying motivated. It's about moving forward. And there's a story in there. And Chop Wood, Carry Water. Chop Wood, Carry Water was the first book I read, and then I read his second book, which is Pound the Stone. Pound the Stone is more about, there's a high school player. He's trying to, get into the big leagues, but he doesn't act right. And then he goes through the transformation of understanding that things aren't all about him. It's about those that are around him. And then something happens where people get affected, and he deals with that alongside his family and friends. Chop Wood, Carry Water is a book where somebody goes and they meet like a monk, and they want to know how they do all these things so effortlessly. And they find out that the monk says, hey, you just chop wood, carry water. That's all you got to do. And in doing those practices day in, day out, the simplicities of what he's being taught, he understands by the end of the book, But there's a lot of transitions in there. Transformation. There's a lot of, uh, you know, there's a lot of self-reliance. There's a lot of refusal to accept the new ways, and understanding, that the old ways aren't going to make you how you're supposed to be. So you got to have some transformation in this book, and both of them have it. But Chop Wood, Carry Water is more of a understanding that things are simple, and if you do those simple things right, You could chop wood, carry water. So these are books that I've read, or I'm reading, or I'm going to read in full detail that help me with my stress, help me understand that I can't compare myself to the next person. I'm right where I need to be. Help me take accountability. I am where I'm currently at as a result of all of my decisions. It is my fault or my grace that I am in the position that I'm in. And it also helps me understand that this is where I'm going. What direction do I want to be in order to take care of not just myself, but my family? $1 million is not the quota. You know, rich forever is the quota. I think Childish Gambino said that in his book. Excuse me, he said that in one of his songs. Sorry, don't bite my head off, but that's what he said. I'm not perfect. I mess up, but hopefully those books that I suggested will be help you out. I mean, you don't have to read all of them. You could just buy one here, buy one there. You know, kind of look here, look there, see what you can do. There's some other books. If you want any other books, I have a couple like Free Agent Lifestyle, As a Man Thinketh. Uh, there's a couple more. You can go ahead and comment in the comment section. And I don't read them every day, but I'll try to read them and respond to you. And then I'll try to help you out. Or you can DM me on my Instagram, Train for Life, and I'll put it in the description so I can kind of like guide you to like some more books if you want to read them. If not, I totally understand. But anywho, these things help me de-stress. They help me get on back on track when I get derailed, because we all do. And going into the year 2025, I hope that these things will help you, whoever you are, just get to the next level, or at least get into the right direction. So once again, my name is Dewan, law enforcement officer in Arizona. And these are the things that I read, that I occupy my mind with to help me de-stress. Hopefully they'll help you. Have a good day.